It's the beginning of a brand new year. I always love this time of year because it feels a lot like a clean slate. I can take all the lessons learned from last year, and there were plenty of them, and I can bring them along with me into this new year. And then I can start all over again on all of those things that didn't go quite so well the first time around. I have this exercise that I do at the beginning of the new year, where I review everything I did from last year to see how much I accomplished. This analyzing stage is so important because it allows for growth. I have a dry erase board hanging right by my office desk, and on it I write down my goals for the year. In 2018, I had written down 7 goals. There were years in the past when I would write down 20. No joke, 20. I stopped doing that after I realized how unhealthy it was to put that much on my plate. So 7 seems much more manageable. I accomplished all but 1. However, that particular one was extremely ambitious, and so I'm really happy with how far I made it with it, even if I didn't get to the finish line. After all, it's about the journey, right? It should be. So I keep that in mind. I'm recording this podcast episode a few days before the new year begins, and I plan to write out my goals for 2019 right after this. This is an activity that I thoroughly enjoy. It gives me an opportunity to challenge myself to do new things, and then to take action on those new things as often as possible to reach the goal. One new thing that I want to start doing this year is to build my YouTube channel. My goal is to center the content on creativity. I plan to do how-to videos, life hack videos, and motivational videos, all focused on the topic of creative pursuits. I plan to educate myself on YouTube and dive right into those things that I know at first are going to make me very uncomfortable, like doing live videos. I want to get to the point where I'm so used to doing them that eventually the discomfort will fade. And I know the only way that'll happen is if I engage with it and figure it out. So, a little plug here for my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. I'll put a link in the show notes. Now, writing down goals and posting them in a place where you can see them daily and hold yourself accountable to them is a great way to make the most of your time and ultimately your life. As each year stacks up on top of the next, you'll have a great set of yearly endeavors on which you can look back and reflect on how far you've come over the years. This segues nicely into this week's podcast, which is about defining your life purpose through a provocative question. Let me step back for a moment and preface this episode by talking about the importance of reflection when it comes to growth. Most of us need time and hard work to get better at things. When you take the time to reflect, you essentially allow yourself an up-close and intimate look into your progression. Living your purpose requires thoughtful analysis along the way to serve as checkpoints. At these checkpoints, you're able to see the adjustments you might need to make to get back on track or on a different track entirely. Sometimes the only way to get to a new place is to be willing to learn from your mistake and make a correction. Without self-correcting, you might miss the opportunities to get on a path that leads you right into the sweet spot of your life purpose. All this being said, I thought it would be helpful for me to listen back on my first ever podcast episode from 2.5 years ago. I had never recorded or produced a podcast before that episode, and so I knew it might be a little rough around the edges when I listened back to it a few minutes ago. And ooh, was it ever! I hadn't yet learned how to work the mic and edit smoothly. But one thing I really enjoyed was reliving the content of that episode. It held and still holds great meaning for me because it's at the heart of my Curves Welcome podcast series, embracing life's curves and figuring out your place along that curve. So in the spirit of reflection and in applying all that we learn in order to grow, I thought it might be fun for me to re-record that first ever episode, applying my skills that I learned along the way. Believe me, I know I still have a ton to learn about working the mic, delivering the content, and editing the audio recording. This is just one of my checkpoints along the path on my journey. So here we go. Here's a provocative question that I first heard from Steve Jobs that I hope will get you thinking on a whole new wavelength, as it did for me when I first heard it. If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? Talk about an eye-opener of a question. Another way to ask this question is, have I made room for those things that are important to me? When I think about this, yeah, I'd have to say that for the most part, I have been downright blessed with being able to do a lot of the things that I set out to do. But hey, let's not kid ourselves. We all have those things that we stick in the back of our minds for, another day. So if today were the last day of your life, would you have any regrets? For me, I would have some. Oh yeah. There are so many things that I would feel really sad about that I didn't get to do, like take a trip to South America to visit family, indulge in more scuba diving, turn one of my books into a movie, hell, even have a cameo role in that movie, invest in a business, drive cross-country in an RV and stop at every national park along the way. And of course, there's the big one. To gain a normal schedule where I can sleep past 2:30 a.m. In all seriousness, we get this one life to live to our fullest. I'm sure that most of you can relate to spending a lot of that precious time spinning in a whirlwind of worry, of what ifs, of straddling challenges, of dodging obstacles. That's how we're programmed to live in society, chasing after one thing or another. Eating our bagels as we're running into the office to get to work on time. How do we stop doing so much of that multitasking, superhuman behavior stuff and start living our best lives? How do we ensure that we get to experience those things that we'd regret not doing before it's too late? I am sure that you've probably read a self-help book along the way. And I am sure that you've come across similar wise advice, which is to take actions that will lead to life goals and ultimately to your best life. It makes sense, right? Can you wrap your brain around goals, around setting them? Most of us love to know where we're going, or at least have some sort of idea as to the general direction when it comes to major life happenings. Most wise people remain respectful of that great gift of time and the preciousness of the journey. I personally tend to get wrapped up in my goals, perhaps even too much at times, like when I write down 20 items on a goal list. Although I've gotten better, I'm still like that runner at the end of a long race who just wants to sprint her way to the end, fading out the cheers of the spectators, the blue skies, the smell of nature hanging in the air, and the feel of the wind on my face as I brush through it. Goals really should be there to guide, but not block out what's really important. That brings me to my next point in this discovery of how to live your best life. Be sure to know your priorities and align your goals with them. I want to share 2 steps with you to help you with this. Number 1, set priorities. It's critical to know what is important to you. And it's even more important to keep that list very short and simple. For me, that list has 3 items on it. 1 is my family and friends. 2 is my health. And 3 is my personal and professional development. So as long as my goals are in line with my priorities, I'm going to enjoy the journey a heck of a lot more. For example, with me, being in alignment means I am with my loved ones, having the time to enjoy the journey of spending my day doing the things that I love most, being healthy, learning, and writing. It's really critical that you take the time to determine what's really important to you. Ask yourself, what would you regret not doing? Number 2, take action daily. If your priorities, for example, are family, health, and personal development, then be sure the actions that you take daily are pointing towards nurturing your relationships and living a well-balanced life that allows for growth. What actions will point you in the direction towards what is most important to you? If you crave more family time and work that makes a difference, perhaps volunteering and reaching out to the community with family members would be something to consider. Here's the thing to remember, and it's really important. If you found yourself veering off the path at times, it's okay. Just be aware of it. Awareness is the key to staying on track, so you can analyze what steps to take right now to get into the swing of living your best life. Seek to build a world that is full of laughter and love. The heart wants to sing and dance and live in the bounty of nourishing change that allows for growth and expanse. Run towards the achievements that you desire, never failing to take your eyes from the whispering landscape that will always be your trusted companion. Tears will surely be shed as you journey through your actions. These tears will leave you breathless with gratitude for the lessons and fun that you enjoyed along the way. You know, life is a series of lessons in learning how to let go of rigidity as we grant a willingness to show our vulnerability to the great unknowns. A step taken offers opportunity to engage on that perpetual path of abundance in friendship, love, and life. Decide on what's important. Execute a flexible plan to enjoy it. And then let life take you on a ride that's going to set you spinning with exhilaration as you come across, time and again, the opportunity to be pleasantly surprised by its little treats. We have all been reminded by events in our lives that life is short. It's fragile. Don't be afraid to shed those things that weigh you down. Lock sight on your ideals and run towards them as if your happiness depends on you reaching them. Because friends, it truly does. If today were the last day of your life, what would you do with it? Who would you be with? What kinds of things would you be doing? Find those answers and then go do them.